Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is June the 15th, 2026. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Happy Monday, happy Garfield Day. Hopefully, you got that lasagna, a little wine on the side, a little garlic bread. Hopefully, things were very lasagna, very Garfield for you. As for mine, it was a good day. I will say it started off a bit rough, as Mondays are wont to do. I ate some fuck ass bowl of chili that I made, and I put way too much bullshit in it, and my stomach was hurting like all night. I will say, giving myself a little bit of a point of pride, point of praise. I did clean a little bit of my bathroom last night, so there you go. That was nice, W. But I went to sleep at a good time too. So I felt very productive, very efficient, despite my rumbly little tumbly. But we woke up, I felt a little bit better, got myself together, and we got to work. Work was solid. I overall got to spend most of my time at the Crusher, which, that is my modus operandi. That is what I like to do in my work day. I did have to go upstairs for about an hour or so and do putbacks, so that was a little bit, but not too bad. After work, we went to the gym. Gym was busy, but not too busy. For a Monday, I will definitely take it. I did a little bit of upper, a little bit of lower, and did some core work, and did 15 minutes on the Stairmaster, and I was good to go. That was my gym session. It was solid. And then came home, had my stretch, had my snack, and did some research. We actually have a good amount to cover for today. So yeah, a lot of big happenings, a lot of highlights to cover. But yeah, let's go ahead and do our startup and let's get into the news. I gotta say, this has actually been my first weekend, weirdly. It feels weird to say this and kind of clock this for myself. First weekend in a very long time, not drinking any alcohol. And then also not just not drinking any alcohol, but also no caffeine. It felt very weird in a way, but then also weird that it felt so normal. Like I was just like, oh, this isn't as bad as I thought. I figured I was like going to be crawling up the walls or anything. Not that I thought like, oh, I'm going to have like, alcoholic withdrawals or anything. But like, I don't know. I thought it was going to be more of a bummer to not drink. But then I guess I kind of remember myself up into, I didn't drink until like, I think I literally didn't sip a Bud Light till 18 years old. So I really wasn't that hip to it, and then I kind of felt like I was making up for lost time for about 10 years, and then after that I was kind of like, all right, whatever, it doesn't matter, alcohol is alcohol. But it definitely just become a mainstay of my life. I usually have at least a drink a day and didn't really think much about it. But even more so the caffeine. I mean, I've been drinking soda. I've been drinking, if not soda, then an energy drink. And then throughout it all, I always wanted coffee. I remember the first time when I was like a little kid that I got to drink coffee, and it was like, wow, I'm a big boy now. So yeah, it just felt weird being off the stuff, all of it, and overall feeling like, it's fine. So I guess that's good. I guess that's a W. I still don't know exactly how long I'm gonna be on this path of not drinking. I do imagine I'm gonna, eventually, come back for a little some every once in a while. But yeah, for now we're doing okay. So a little bit of an update there. And I will say, I'm mostly drinking water. I have made some caveats for like a little bit of lemonade here or a little bit of cranberry juice there. But overall, mostly water. Actually, all right, what am I saying? I'm talking shit. Because my stomach was so, I did have a Sprite. So I did have a soda. I'm talking all this shit like I'm reformed. But that being said, I mean, hey, no caffeine in the Sprite, so I feel like that still tracks. It still counts. And I drank that Sprite for medical purposes. Okay, so whatever. Anyway, okay. Since we're essentially a sports podcast now, move over Barstool. Wanted to start off with Stanley Cup, Stanley Cup final. I guess shout out to the Hurricanes. They won. Not that y'all know I don't really give that much of a shit about that, but hey, it was a big sports moment. Shit, I don't even know who the Golden Knights are. But that's neither here nor there. I'm just calling balls and strikes here. But speaking in the sports realm, but also shifting to politics and all that kind of bullshit. We're gonna move this from the Stanley Cup into UFC. UFC Freedom 250. I don't know how you pronounce this fucking bullshit, but yeah, we're gonna talk about that real quick. From the Associated Press, Trump celebrates 80th birthday with an Iran deal and UFC cage fights at White House. Now, yes, you heard Iran deal mentioned. A bit of spoilers. We're going to get to that in a bit. So that's going to be the next thing. But President Donald Trump marked his 80th birthday on Sunday by hailing an initial agreement to end the war in Iran and staging a once unfathomable cage fighting show on the White House's storied South Lawn. Yeah, it's unfathomable because no one asked for this. It is a very surreal thing to see this like weird shaped dome thing on the White House lawn with all these fireworks and this fucking pomp and circumstance so that we could just cover an octagon of blood and like it's some kind of fucking sacrifice and be like, yay, we love you, Mr. President, happy birthday. Like, no one had that on their bingo card like in 2016, that's for fucking sure. So here we are, 10 years later. Life's crazy like that. Trump had been touting the emerging deal for weeks. I don't care about that. We're skipping that part. Let's see here. Top administration officials and Republican leaders attended the fights, including Secretary of State Marco Rubio and House Speaker Mike Johnson. Polish President Karol Nawrocki was also at the White House. It started with Trump and UFC chief Dana White walking together from the Oval Office to the Blue Room balcony to survey the octagon, standing for the national anthem as fighter jets thundered overhead. That was something I guess I didn't personally think about, like how they were going to actually use the White House as like part of the staging area, part of the event. I thought that's a bit garish, but I mean, what the fuck? We're already on the White House lawn. Who gives a shit? Like, if these motherfuckers want to come out of the goddamn Oval Office into the goddamn ring, who's to stop them at that point, right? And also, it's worth noting, there was a bit of last minute lawsuits, a little bit of, I feel like you can call this lawfare, to try to stop it. It didn't work. They said, no, we're gonna do this. Let's see here. Thousands of spectators crowded into the temporary arena under the Claw, a spaceship-like metal arch fitted with lights, sound equipment, and large screens. Thousands more watched on big screens from the nearby Ellipse. Ellipse? Is it Ellipse? Yeah, whatever. Whatever. This event is a one-of-one event, incredible event, said White, a close friend of the president's. During a fight night hype session at the Lincoln Memorial, where pairs of fighters shoved and scuffled for the cameras under the stoic gaze of Honest Abe's marble likeness. Let's see here. Before Sunday's final fight, lightweight fighters Ilya Topuria and Justin Gaethje, who wrapped himself in an American flag, each stepped out of the Oval Office and walked to the octagon, meaning Trump even seated his workspace as a part of the show. The American Gaethje, I'm sure I'm fucking his name up, whatever, then stunned Spanish Georgian Topuria to win after 4 rounds that left copious blood on the cage floor. Trump later headed inside the cage to shake hands and watch the fireworks display that launched well after 1 a.m. That capped a night where many of the winning fighters thanked Trump and God. Heavyweight Josh Hokick, whatever, fuck this guy, um, took it further with an extraordinary and unfounded attack based on a right wing conspiracy theory about a former First Lady. Michelle Obama is a man. Am I right, America? Which people, I'm at least glad that some people booed, but obviously it got some cheers. Trump smiled at it. I don't like that they're pacing this and trying to say that this is just some right wing conspiracy thing. It's being fucking racist. It's so fucking weird to just sit here and say like, oh, you're a strong looking black woman. You're obviously a dude. You're obviously a man. Like it's weird. It's just the same thing as equating people of color to animals and shit like that. I don't like how we're trying to couch this as if it's just like it's a a conspiracy thing. No, it's a racist thing. Like straight up, it's just being racist, and it's a frustrating situation. I think what was it, Dana White and maybe a couple other top people were like trying to like distance themselves from this shit, like kind of disavow it a little bit. But it's like, no, these are your guys, these are your people. Um, Hockett, we're gonna call him Hockett. Hockett also headed over to Trump and placed a chain around the president's neck. I don't know, it's like some kind of like UFC type situation. Also, apparently they had some motorsports here. I'm looking at a photo. So I mean, sans the little racist bit, that fuckery. I'll level with you. I know there are people out there like this is idiocracy manifested, brother. Oh, I can't believe this is what our taxpayer dollars are going to. Oh my gosh, osh posh, blah blah blah. Okay, yeah. I would like to see this not happen, of course, for sure. But of things that Trump has done between the two terms and all that shit, all the bullshit leading up to this fucking moment, his little fucking birthday bash, this isn't the worst thing to me. This is whatever. There's a version of me that if you put a plate of hot wings in front of my fucking face, and this was on the TV at the BW3s or insert sports wing bar joint, I'm watching it. Whatever. It's cool. Like, it's UFC, whatever. The lunkheads are going to be lunkheads. Up until the Michelle Obama thing, I'm probably okay with it. I'm probably not perturbed, and it's whatever. I'm probably rah-rahing. But, it just is what it fucking is. And then also, before we segue into really what I should be talking about, the Iran war shit, this America 250 birthday, yay, birthday party, it's our year, we made it, 250 years. And this is just me just kind of giving my thoughts here, because I've been seeing the fanfare even in my local area, just driving around, because I spent a lot of time over the weekend driving, and just seeing motherfuckers like have the like happy 250th, happy birthday America, woo, freedom. And it's just like, dude, all this shit just feels like the lamest, corniest, nationalist bullshit. Like, I just don't fuck with it, but I get it. I understand it. Like, these are things that not just Americans would do, any country would do. Like, this is the self-service that you just give yourself. Like, isn't it so good to be us? We've made it 250 years. We're so great. Yeah. And it's like, you're just not even going to think about all the shit, all the bodies, all the bullshit. Like, just the fact that we're just like supposed to be this richest, most excellent country, but we just have so much poverty, so much just inequity, all the fucking stuff that you and I go through every fucking day. And like, I just see this shit posted on everyone's lawn and on street lamps and stuff. And it's just like, this shit is whack as fuck. It just doesn't feel good. I don't know. Not to yuck anybody's yum. If it is something you feel happy about it and instills something in you, I get it. It's the same thing kind of about this whole UFC bullshit. As much as it is crap, it's bread and circuses, and people will come and eat it up. I understand because your life's gonna be shit anyway. You might as well go to the claw. Anyway, all right. That's really, I mean, there's more details there, I suppose, but I don't really care about it. We can go ahead and move along. From NPR, U.S. and Iran announce an initial deal to end the war and reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Let's open up this fucking strait. President Trump and Iran declared they've reached an initial agreement intended to end more than 3 months of war in Iran and reopen the Strait of Hormuz. The deal, scheduled to be formally signed Friday in Switzerland, marks a major breakthrough in the conflict that set the Middle East aflame and shook the global economy. The deal with the Islamic Republic of Iran is now complete. Congratulations to all, Trump wrote on social media Sunday evening. Now, look, he was talking that big shit. Like, I want to say from Friday throughout the whole weekend, I've been hearing reports of like a deal is assured. Like, we are definitely going to get a deal. And I'm like, how many times have we cried this before? How many times has like Trump gone and done this wordsmithing and just to like try to soothe the market down, and then we're blowing people up the whole time. We're doing fucking bullshit. We're going back and forth with a tit for tat. Like the war hasn't even ended. So what are we talking about here? Peace. And we're gonna get into a little bit more of the details or the lack thereof that we have. But the fact of the matter is, in this situation, it wasn't just America saying this. Like I was hearing reports of like Iran also saying like, okay, we don't have an exact time. We're not exactly saying at Sunday night it's going to be resolved, but like we're talking, we're listening, we're saying things back. So it's like, okay, maybe there is something, but I didn't want to talk about it until I heard we got a deal. So that was me, driving to work Monday hearing we got a deal. So I'm like, okay, that's good. Markets greeted the news with a rally in stocks, with the S&P 500 up 1.9% and oil prices dropping by almost 5%. If the agreement works as planned, several key developments are supposed to happen almost immediately. The U.S. and Iran will end the sporadic attacks that have been taking place despite a ceasefire. The Israel-Hezbollah fighting in Lebanon should stop. That's emphasis on the should here, because Israel has kind of said, hey, we're privy to what's going on here, but we're not actually at the table and we don't actually agree with it. It's also worth noting that even up into and through the weekend, they've been doing shit in Lebanon. And, even though Trump has said, stop, like you are actually fucking and blowing up my deal that I'm working on here. Don't do it. And they're like, we got to do it. We have our reasons. You know that. And it's like Iran is also saying we have a deal that is tied to Lebanon. Hezbollah is also attached to this. You cannot fuck with that as well. And it's like, well, we're gonna keep talking. It's essentially what's fucking happening here. I do love this quote though. We'll read this. Ships of the world, start your engines, let the oil flow, Trump said in his post. He's so happy. He had such a good little birthday weekend. However, the memorandum of understanding between the U.S. and Iran did not resolve several critical issues that must still be worked out in another round of negotiations. So it's worth noting that this is not necessarily a peace deal, but because this ceasefire is set up in such a shitty ass butt way, a memorandum of understanding situation here is like such a good platform that like people are more or less saying this is like Star Wars New Hope vibes. We did it. Because truly, I think from what I'm kind of hearing from other people's like speculations and what I kind of agree with, Iran has gotten this close to the deal and has come to this part of it so that they can drag this shit out for at least another 2 years. And then Trump's gone. And then I'm sure what they're thinking, there's going to be another paradigm shift in America. Shit's going to go blue. And then it's like, we're going to be dealing with someone else. And then we're going to have a whole other round of talks that we're going to have to recalibrate and talk and go through. So I don't think that they were actually looking for a real resolution, nor do I think we were. I don't think America or fucking Israel was. I think at the end of the day, they got their hands stuck in the cookie jar that was Iran. They couldn't really get out of it. They couldn't go any deeper without putting more boots in the ground, making things fucking worse. So they said, okay, what's the deal? What's the deal? And not just what's the deal, because we talked about this before. Trump was very adamant that he had to get a deal that was better than the deal that Obama made back then. And really, it's not looking like he's going to get that shit. In fact, things are just worse because now Iran knows that it's like, hey, we can fucking wrap our hands around the goddamn Strait again. And then we're right back here again. You have another problem. You have another global issue. You know that. We know that. So, like, whatever. We can kind of put our hands off the triggers for a little bit, let things cool down, collect ourselves, But at the end of the day, we kind of know what the score is. Let me keep reading. The agreement extends the current U.S.-Iran ceasefire for 60 days. Like, okay, which has just been this vague thing that's been going on, or should have been over with, but still continues to linger. The goal in the upcoming talks will be a permanent end of the war. The fate of Iran's nuclear program will be negotiated, but remains unresolved for now. Trump made no mention of the nuclear issue in his initial post, though this is the main reason he cited for launching the war in February. In an interview with the New York Times, Trump said Iran would be permitted low-level nuclear enrichment. In the past, he has repeatedly called for the dismantling of Iran's entire nuclear program. Also, Iran wants billions of dollars in its assets that have been frozen abroad and the lifting of U.S. and international sanctions. Now, this is from the Iran angle where I don't think they're going to get what they want. I think they're going to get some money, but Trump has been very loud and adamant that they're not getting a damn dime. So they're definitely not going to get everything that they're owed, quote unquote. They're going to be left hanging on that in some kind of way. But I think at the end of the day, both sides had to save some kind of face and go back to the people saying, we got something. We're getting something, and this war was over, and it was a win for us and a loss for them. Okay, so they got it, I guess. The thing that is weird to me is that I feel like Trump could have done this a month ago, 2 months ago, and time is very much of the essence here because even though we have this memorandum of understanding, quote unquote, this shit has been achieved, we did it, mission accomplished, it's going to take months, if not years, for shit to fully open back up the way it was, for the market to fully adjust back to the way it was. And let's face it, we've talked about this. It's not going to, my dear listeners. We're kind of stuck in a shitty situation as it is. Most likely, it's probably going to get worse. Like, that's kind of what it looks like if you're reading the tea leaves at all. If you're kind of reading the room as it is. So yeah, I mean, I'm happy to be telling you guys, hey, they've got a deal, even though they actually haven't signed it, quote unquote. I've heard they've got a digital agreement signed. I love that for us. Really living in a modern age. But yeah, I mean, just all the ceasefires I've also covered as of late in this time frame, they just feel so loose. They are just like vibes based almost. There's nothing that ever feels really structurally concrete about them, or it might seem and read that way. They might actually have a paper document, but then next thing you know, the opposing party just goes and just fucking blows some shit up. I mean, at least in terms of like any of the like Israel-Gaza situation or the Israel-Lebanon situation, you know, I could go down the list, etc., etc. But yeah, that's a big update. I want to call this good news. I think it's good news. We're gonna knock on the wood a little bit and say, hey, this is at least a walk back from the brink. And, we don't have Trumpy anymore saying, hey, I'm going to invade Karg Island and we're going to go buck wild or I'm going to do nuclear war on them. Like, we're not doing that for right now. So, yay, that. And I kind of want to just throw this is like a nothing snowball ass fucking conspiracy hot take that I have. But I do kind of think that Trump wanted to hold out at this point just for the birthday. You know what I mean? Because I do think a lot of this was on him. Not to say that like Iran wasn't playing a big factor here, but I think that they also maybe saw it too. Like they even have fucking psychiatrists or, therapists, mental people doing a whole psych profile on Trump and how to handle them. So I know that they were like, what's going to be the most optimum way to go about this deal? Not just for the moment, not just for this year, but like for the remainder of this term, we have to think long range. We have to think long view. You know what I mean? So maybe they were just like, hey, yeah, if he wants it on his birthday, we'll give it to him on his birthday. That's fine. It's not like, things really changing, but at least it gets us off the brink. There's more things that we should cover, of course. I mean, like I said, this isn't going to be just snap your fingers done. They got to unmine the strait. They got to fucking fully work out. Is this still going to be a free gig now to keep traveling in transit like it was before February? Or like Iran has kind of hinted at and kept saying, they're like, no, you're gonna have to pay us a fee. Like it's not gonna be free anymore. There's gonna be a little bit of a toll when you get out of this hole. But I don't know. We'll see. Time's gonna tell, and I'm sure I'm gonna be coming back to talk about this shit. But yeah, figured we'd linger a bit here and yap a bit. But let's move on. Sadly, the rest of this episode is not good news. It's very sad and a bit of a motif we've been having of airplane, sky incidents. But let's take a water break. Oh, and can I say the Oliver Tree discourse has not gotten better. Jesus fucking Christ. I'll leave it at that. I'm glad I covered it and I said my bit on that, but yeah, Anyway, from the Associated Press. 12 dead as a plane on a skydiving outing crashes in Missouri, authorities say. A plane carrying a pilot and 11 passengers on a skydiving outing in Missouri crashed in a field and was engulfed in flames Sunday, killing all aboard, authorities said. The crash happened shortly after the plane took off from a local airport around 11:30 a.m., and some of the occupants' family members witnessed the crash, said Bates County Sheriff Chad Anderson. A heap of blue and silver mangled metal lay in the grass in Butler Memorial Airport with a massive lineup of emergency vehicles gathered on a nearby street. Clergy and volunteers went to the site to assist relatives. And officials were working Sunday afternoon to identify all victims and notify their next of kin. Officials with the Federal Aviation Administration were also on the scene Sunday afternoon, and a team from the National Transportation Safety Board was en route. The private plane was operated by Skydive Kansas City, said Dennis Jacobs, the acting airport manager and Bates County Emergency Management Agency director. It was identified as a single-engine turboprop plane. It had just taken off and made a left turn before the crash, Jacobs said. In my opinion, I think it was losing power, and he was trying to make it over the highway and land, and he stalled and went down nose first and caught fire. Emergency responders put out the fire and the wreckage soon after the crash. Jacob said, calling the scene brutal. First responders also checked the area under the flight path and did not find anyone who might have tried to jump out before the plane came down, he said. The Pacific Aerospace 750XL that crashed is a model that's popular for skydiving and also proving useful for carrying cargo, aerial surveilling, and medical evacuation flights. The aircraft can carry more than 4,000 pounds and is capable of taking off and landing on short runways, according to the manufacturer. The plane was built in 2010, according to FAA records. We don't have any more details in terms of what potentially caused it. I would definitely want to come back if I hear any more details. Obviously, very unfortunate, and I'm also going to be getting into another downed aircraft scenario in our next story, so we're just going to go right into that. From ABC News, 8 on board Air Force B-52 bomber that crashed shortly after takeoff in California. An Air Force B-52 Stratofortress bomber carrying 8 people on a routine test mission crashed shortly after takeoff at Edwards Air Force Base in California on Monday. Initial indications are that the crash was not survivable, the base said in a statement. A crash was reported at about 11:20 a.m. local time. Emergency response personnel are on scene, and officials are working to account for all personnel, the base said. The base has closed the airfield and said all inbound planes are being diverted, and the crash remains under investigation. Bit of a history on the B-52 bomber they have here. We're just going to skip over that. But yeah, a lot of airborne incidents. I feel like we've kind of been covering lately. A bit of a cluster of them that have been making the headlines. I know though, just given my few years of doing this podcast thing, I feel like is it several years now? Oh, God damn. This isn't as uncommon, just like there are car crashes and things like that. You're going to have incidents in the air. There's no perfect thing. I've been hearing people kind of discuss some of these incidents and they're kind of like vexed a bit. Like, man, this just seems so out of the blue, so out of nowhere. And it's like almost like they want to take it to a conspiratorial place, but they don't. And it's like, I know maybe the last time you thought about this was maybe like when like a Kobe Bryant died, but like these things do happen. Like people do go down in these big blazes. Unfortunately, like I said, on this podcast, we have covered a plethora of them. And just this year alone, I feel like we've covered a good handful of them, and I know throughout the years that's been a thing. So each of them obviously very sad, very unfortunate. Condolences to all the people who've lost their lives in these kind of situations. But yeah, and sadly, like I said, it's not like the episode is getting any lighter. This is a story that I heard, kind of Sunday into Monday. And then I got to see some of the footage of it for worse, and there's no for better here. I've said this before on the pod. There are a lot of times I do not do the utmost due diligence and watch this shit. I just don't. Like, I am a normal human being at the end of the day. I do not want to like have this shit playing in my brain. And I have a good enough imagination. I feel like I can visualize, encapsulate, you know, what happened. You know, if I see a little bit, if I get a picture still, okay, that all the better. I don't need to watch the shit uncensored, raw. I'm good. Anyway, from The Guardian. Woman, 21, dies after being thrown from Brazil rope bridge without harness. A 21-year-old woman who died when two rope jumping instructors threw her from a bridge without first harnessing her to security equipment has been buried in Brazil's Sao Paulo state. Maria Eduarda Rodrigues de Freitas was rope jumping on Saturday at Point do Escoleto, an abandoned bridge in the municipality of La Maria, where tourists practice extreme sports. The young woman, who aspired to become a physical education teacher, had asked to be launched from the bridge airplane style, with two instructors hoisting her above their shoulders as she spread out her arms. On Monday, investigator Andrea Levy told journalists that the three jumping instructors involved in the incident acknowledged that De Freitas was not connected to safety ropes when she jumped Saturday in the countryside Sao Paulo state. Levy said the three instructors have been arrested and could face manslaughter charges. They do not remember whether they forgot to attach the ropes or who was supposed to do it or who failed to check. But the fact is that the ropes were not attached to her. Footage shared online shows two men in white helmets launching Freitas from a 40-meter or 130-foot abyss, or into a 40-meter abyss, without attaching her to any security equipment as an onlooker screams at the instructors to attach her to a cord. The instructors are wearing harnesses that appear to be attached to a security rope. So yeah, it's very jarring because if you do watch any of it, it is, there's like this surreal quality of it because they just have her hoisted up and they just toss her. And it's like, what are you doing? But I do believe, obviously, I'm just reading the vibes here. I could be completely fucking wrong. Speculation's hats on. Like, I think as a group, they thought, even the person thought, because it's not like she's like, hey, am I attached? Like, I think everyone thought that everyone did everything right. And that they were just going to do a classic, throw this person, and, you know, the rope's going to catch her, yada, yada, yada. But no, you just threw her over this fucking bridge into the fucking abyss. No rope. And like, it's crazy that everyone had the forethought there and no one like to attach themselves, but not her. And that's very unfortunate. It's very sad. Like, I don't want to make it's, to me, it's very hard to try to add levity here. It's a really fucked up situation. I remember thinking base jumping, like, I mean, I was a child in the 90s. Like, all these extreme things were always very cool to me in my head. Like, young Isaiah, the idea of skydiving, base jumping, BMX, skateboarding, they all sounded really cool to my fat ass. But, like, really, I just wanted to ride on my Huffy and chill. And I think, what was it? I was watching, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And I remember there's a moment when one of the character's boyfriends dies because he was base jumping. And it's like it's a bit, you know, oh my gosh, it's so sad. I remember that being like, oh my God. Yeah, no, that's real shit. Like, I know that this isn't real. Obviously, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air isn't real, but people do die doing this shit. Like, and it wouldn't be me. I also remember in terms of the skydiving thing, the King of the Hill episode where Peggy Hill, because her parachute doesn't open. She lived, good for her. But man, like, it just couldn't be me. That's all I'm going to say for sure. But also, regardless of that, you got to make sure that all these protocols are good and set. I think that's once again what happened here was that everyone thought everyone was on the level in that moment, and clearly they weren't. They were missing a very big thing, which was attaching this person to a harness. It just that's too casual. You're being too loosey goosey about this shit, man. Like people's lives are on the line. It's not nothing, you know. And this person who's 21 years old had their whole life ahead of them. So yeah, pretty fucked situation. And in a similar vein, we are we're taking a jump. What can I say? I gotta make a joke. I gotta do a thing. Anyway, our last story is also coming from ABC News, uh, base jumping related. But yeah, let's go ahead and take our last break, and then we'll go ahead and close it off. Close it out. Whatever. You know, we'll take off. Uh. Ugh. Oh man, oh man, oh man. Ooh. Okay. Two killed in base jumping incident in Utah, including man who performed with Madonna. Two people were killed in a base jumping incident in Utah, including an extreme athlete who performed with Madonna during the 2012 Super Bowl, authorities said. The incident occurred Sunday in a remote area of Mineral Bottom in Grand County, according to the local sheriff's office. Deputies from the Grand County Sheriff's Office called emergency medical services personnel, and two helicopters responded, authorities said. Two men died from their injuries at the scene, according to the Grand County Sheriff's Office. An approximately 50-year-old man whose name was not released, and Andrew Andy Lewis of Moab. The sheriff's office did not release additional details on the base jumping incident. ABC News has reached out to the office for further comment. Base jumping is a serious. It is serious. Base jumping is a dangerous recreational sport that involves parachuting to the ground after jumping from a tall, fixed object. Base is an acronym for the types of objects from which one can jump: building, antenna, span, and earth, such as cliffs. Lewis was a leading figure in the base jumping, slacklining, and tricklining world, whatever. He notably performed on a trick line during Madonna's 2012 Super Bowl halftime show. So yeah, there's a picture I have of him doing some like I don't know if it's the slack lining or trick lining. I'm not that hip, okay, or crunchy. I don't know what vernacular. And I'm using crunchy as a positive here. You're just doing kind of things I would never be doing, like high wire acts and you're on your tippy toes and shit, risking it all. I mean that is cool, but could never be me. Once again. Lewis owned a base jump. Lewis owned Base Jump Moab, which often or offers tandem jumps. He was also a co-owner of Moab Swingers, which claims to have the longest rope swing in the U.S. That's very cheeky. But yeah, I mean, it sounds like he had a fucking champion title. What is it? He also set a Guinness World Record for slackline surfing at China's, I don't even know how to pronounce this, Daishoulu. Okay. Doshai. That's not even the same language. Waterfall in 2011. So, he's got records. He's got championship titles from 2008 to 2011. But yeah, I mean, it just kind of goes to show. I mean, I don't know if this was from a mess up, a mishap. I don't know. If the details come out, I'll definitely come back to the story. But it only takes one minor thing, and no matter how professional you are, it could just all be over. So yeah, I mean, definitely condolences to both these people, to the woman. I mean, damn, shit's, that's rough. It's scary. It's extreme. But yeah, that's it. That's all I have for today. That's going to be my episode. If you'd like to help out, support the effort, I do have a Patreon, patreon.com/Isaiah News. Become a newsie today. Free ways to hit me up, IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any of the socials. Subscribe to the YouTube, follow on TikTok, follow on Spotify, follow on Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to listen. Leave a like, leave a cool comment. Sharing is caring. 5 stars on Spotify, 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. But if you don't do any of that, that's a-okay. I just appreciate you letting me flop around, talking about my day, talking about my life and times, talking about the world around me, all the bullshit going on. Thanks for just letting me yap to you. So, thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a friend. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.